explorers, it's your adventure podcast hostess with the mostest, Katie Staples. I'm going to share my travel stories, tips, and tricks for exploring and creating unforgettable experiences and memories. Find me on Instagram at the.great.escape.podcast so you can follow along and I can hear from you. This episode is all about Sequoia National Park, which I visited last week along with Kings Canyon National Park. Kings Canyon will get its own episode soon. Now, the main reason for my trip out there was to climb Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the lower 48, which is located in the eastern part of Sequoia National Park. I cannot wait to tell you all about that amazing day in a future episode too. So let's dive in. Sequoia was established in 1890, making it America's second oldest national park just behind Yellowstone. It was created to protect the giant sequoia trees, the largest and most popular one in the world being General Sherman. So many people lump Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks together when they're talking about them because they actually butt up to each other in two different sections. Kings Canyon has two different parts and it straddles Sequoia National Forest. There's the much more heavily traveled western area, and then on the other side is the eastern part, much more remote, no cell service, and that's actually where the famous sign is. So you do have to go all the way to that section in order to get the official picture. Then below both of those is Sequoia National Park. Most of this area is wilderness, so there's lots of trails for sure, and a lot of it is backcountry. You won't see the majority of these parks unless you really get out on those much longer trails. Then you have the Inyo National Forest and a lot of orange groves that are surrounding all of this. So there's not a lot of people, and it's great if you're looking to get out in nature and have some solitude. Over 2 million people visit the 865,000 acre park each year. So what's the best way to get to Sequoia? Well, the closest airport is Fresno, yet I flew into LAX and drove several hours north. There are two ways to drive into the park. One is through the town of Three Rivers and the Ash Mountain entrance on the west side of the park, or you can drive down through Kings Canyon and Sequoia National Forest to the north, which I did. The other way to enter the park is to hike in from the east side from the Inyo National Forest on the Mount Whitney Trail. It is amazing how quickly the topography and the temperature will change as you drive from the desert through the foothills and up the mountains. It starts off really flat just north of Bakersfield, and the midday temperature was 103 degrees at the base of the mountains. That dropped to 86 degrees at 4,500 feet elevation, and then it dropped to a pretty comfortable 78 degrees at 6,000 feet. The plant life consists mostly of dried grasses and shrubs in the foothills, and around 5,000 feet, you start to see much larger evergreen trees. Apparently, Juneteenth is one of the free admission days for the national park system, so I didn't have to pay to get in. Usually, you would pay $35 per vehicle to enter Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks for up to 7 days. The other free admission days in 2025 are MLK Day, April 19th, August 4th, September 27th, and Veterans Day. I started this trip in Kings Canyon National Park, and after a day there, I drove down General's Highway into Sequoia National Park. I still had decent cell service in areas of the park, though not as good as in the majority of the west part of Kings Canyon. I got all 4 bars of Verizon back as I got close to Lodgepole Visitor Center. General's Highway is 32.5 miles long, and even if you only had a quick trip to the parks, it is well worth driving this road and seeing how beautiful the area is. There are plenty of big trees within view of the road, and there's some pretty canyon overlooks to stop at too. So I went in late June and it was beautiful. There's lots of flowers in bloom this time of year. I would highly recommend going in either May or June or September, October to beat some of the summer crowds and heat. And you could still see some snow on the top of the tallest mountains in June. With so many visitors and limited parking in a lot of the park, Sequoia has a shuttle during the busy time of year. Through September 1st, there are four free routes between the Giant Forest and the Lodgepole areas. The parking lot at the Giant Forest Museum fills up very quickly, even the overflow lot. So I highly recommend you start early or you park at the Lodgepole Visitor Center and shuttle down from there. That Lodgepole Visitor Center has everything that you could need for a trip to Sequoia. I visited twice just for the showers. Yes, I said showers. The campgrounds have running water in the sinks, yet that doesn't help you get clean spending days in the wilderness. It's $1 for a 3-minute shower. And this sounds silly, but I also was really happy to see soap dispensers in those bathrooms. That was a nice touch after not having soap in most of the Kings Canyon National Park bathrooms. They also have a grilled deli there, laundry facility, a park store, and a market with fresh produce, plenty of meats, snacks, and all the camping supplies. I was really impressed with the selection and how all the prices were reasonable for how in the middle of nowhere with no other options we were. I bought some souvenirs and a salad for dinner that night. Now, like I said, Sequoia National Park is known for General Sherman, the largest tree in the world. It is a 275-foot sequoia tree in the Giant Forest section of the park. I did the 2.9-mile Congress Trail to see General Sherman and a few other famous trees. The path is mostly paved and it starts with a 0.4-mile steep descent. Then it becomes a loop with General Sherman pretty immediately to the right. There were a ton of people, so I went clockwise to the left so that hopefully the crowds would clear out before I got there at the end. I saw the groups of trees called the House, the Senate, Congress, the President tree, and did a short detour to Chief Sequoia. When you get to the back of the loop where it has the redwoods and like the Senate and Congress, it really kind of feels like you're back in the time of the dinosaurs. Then you finish the loop at General Sherman, which is estimated to be 2,200 years old. It's not the tallest tree in the world, yet with its 36.5-foot wide base, it has the most volume of any tree at 52,508 cubic feet. That's almost 13 semi-trucks worth of wood. Sequoia National Park has some really beautiful hikes. Remember how I said parking lots fill up though? The parking lot for Toccopa Falls was almost full by noon. So again, go early. The hike to Toccopa Falls is a pretty steady climb up along Toccopa Creek. A little over 1 mile in, there are some flatter rocks and the water rolls over those, and several people were resting or having lunch there. There are a few little creek crossings that require either balance or shoes that can get wet. You can really start to hear the waterfalls about a 1/3 mile out from them, and you can see them a little bit through the trees. It is a great place to sit and have a snack. It's pretty cool right by the water, but there's not a lot of shade, so definitely wear sunscreen. Another great trail I did there was the Watchtower Trail. It was supposed to be an 8-mile round trip up to Heather Lake, and I decided to keep going another mile past that to Emerald Lake per another hiker's recommendation. It's a pretty steady climb up 5 miles, yet it's totally worth it for the beautiful scenery. I stopped to have a snack at the Watchtower, then got to Heather Lake, which was beautiful with snow on the other side of it from the trail. This is where I lost cell service. And as you keep ascending, the trail overlooks Astor Lake, and then you get to Emerald Lake, which is just beautiful. It is 9,230 feet in elevation, so it's a little chilly, and there's definitely still snow and ice there in June. You can see and hear it melting down into the lake. I could have stayed there all day. There's also pit toilets right there at the lake. I think on that trail I saw like 8 marmots, and the flowers are in bloom, so I think June is a great time of year to go. Now, hiking at a higher elevation is very different than hiking closer to sea level. I noticed the air is definitely thinner above 8,000 feet, and my body fatigues easier, especially 10,000 feet and above. Drink plenty of water and reapply chapstick since your skin will dry out faster. And you're closer to the sun, so sunscreen and more sunscreen. There were comments on my All Trails app about some sections in the park having mosquito problems, yet I didn't encounter any of that. Bird lovers, another popular hike in Sequoia is the Big Trees Trail. It's an easy 1.2-mile trail and boardwalk. You'll see some large trees while you circle the meadow, and you'll see several of the park's 200 bird species. Near the trail is the Giant Forest Museum. It felt to me more like a small visitor center with a few displays on the tree species and history of that area. It's still worth a pop in, especially if you're waiting for the shuttle bus at that stop. Now, right there by the museum is the Crescent Meadows Road that takes you to places like Tunnel Log and Moro Rock. That road is closed most of the day to cars during snow season and shuttle season. During shuttle season, they will let you drive in after 7 p.m. when the shuttle runs are over. Tunnel Log is a pretty cool and quick experience, as long as you get there early. I turned onto Crescent Meadow Road right at 7 p.m., and a line had already formed behind Tunnel Log. Most people will stop their car underneath the log and take a selfie with it. Moro Rock is a random giant dome in that section of the park. You can climb up the 350 steps to the 6,726 feet elevation for the panoramic views of the mountains and canyons. I think this one would be great for sunrise. If you're going to stay in the park, there are 14 campsites within Sequoia National Park and Kings Canyon National Park. 7 are in Sequoia National Park, and 3 within Kings Canyon are not a bad drive away. A standard site will run you $32 a night, and it will not have water, electric, or sewer hookups. There's flush toilets in the bathrooms throughout the campgrounds, and your site will have a picnic table, fire ring, and a bear box. And mind the bears. Use the bear boxes. They are designed to store all of your food, toiletries, anything really that is smelly, both day and night. No food in your tent and no food in your vehicle. The bears were very active when I was there because it was mating season. And a few of the bears hanging out in some of the campgrounds in the eastern side of Kings Canyon assaulted some of the vehicles where people left food inside. Just an FYI, dogs are not allowed on any trails within Sequoia or Kings Canyon National Parks, even the paved trails. They are allowed in the campgrounds and the parking lots though. But OMG, I saw multiple people leave their animals in the car to go hiking, and it frustrated me to no end. Even in June at higher elevations, it is too hot for Fido to be left in the car or the RV without AC. If you want Fido to go hiking with you, dogs are allowed in the Sequoia and Inyo National Forests that surround the parks. You may be doing a lot of driving in the parks and using up gas. In the summer, you're in luck. There is a gas station at Stony Creek, which is technically in Sequoia National Forest, along the drive from the western part of Kings Canyon down into Sequoia National Park. It's the only gas station within the parks and forests there, and I paid $4.79 a gallon, which is not bad for California. Now, my last day in Sequoia National Park was spent hiking Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the lower 48. It was a huge endeavor at 21.2 miles, 17 hours, and 6,600 plus feet of elevation gain. That story and those videos will be in one of the next episodes, so make sure to tune in. Well, that's all for Sequoia National Park. Have you been? What was your favorite part? I would love to hear from you. Find me on Instagram at the.great.escape.podcast and send me a message. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you can follow along and dream big for your journeys on The Great Escape. See you next time, adventurers.